Well, hello there. This is Mark Ittleman, speech language pathologist, and welcome to the teaching of talking. Well, we have an interesting little discussion this evening, something that I'm sure that you'll love to learn about. And the title of this presentation is called Aphasia, Apraxia, and Fear. Yeah, you heard me. Fear. That's a capital F-E-A-R. And you might say, Mark, I got enough things to fear already, okay? I don't need anything else to fear in my life right now. I can understand that. Okay? We've been through some trying times. But the subject of fear is a very important subject when it comes to the treatment of aphasia and the treatment of apraxia. And you might say, well, I want some help with my speech. I want some help with my aphasia. I want some help with my apraxia. I don't have any fear about it. I just want some help to help me help my loved one talk. But it goes much deeper than that, okay? And I'm going to just explain some of the things that I've learned from doing speech therapy with people who have aphasia for 50 years or more, okay? and I'm still working just as hard as I ever have to help people talk better. All right. So what's up with fear? Okay, well, there's a lot of it going around. Okay, now, I just want to tell you a real quick story. When I was a therapist just starting out, and I had to work with somebody who had aphasia who'd come into my office, and they couldn't imitate anything I was saying. They couldn't mimic anything. And, they may be drooling, or they may not be able to make any sounds. I'd be sitting behind my desk and I'd go, holy moly, camole, what am I going to do about this? Okay. And I really didn't know. So I had to comb through all the textbooks real quick and figure out what the heck am I going to do? Because I don't want to fail. All right. One of the things that I always grew up with was fear of failing, because I failed at a lot of things when I was growing up. All right? And I got in the habit of learning about failure. And it wasn't until I was about 18 that I started hanging around with somebody who mentored me and taught me about how to overcome fear. Because he was a very successful man, extremely successful. And if I hadn't met him, and if I hadn't learned the beliefs and the attitudes and the strategies for successful living and for successfully figuring out what I wanted to do for a profession, then I'd be a lost soul in the world today. And I listened to this man talk to me just about every day for 3 years. Every time I had a problem, I'd talk to him. And he'd tell me what to do about it. That's strategy. That's technique. And I had no idea. It's just like trying to teach somebody to talk if you have no idea what to do. And it's the same thing when a person is fearful about something and can't seem to do anything because they're fearful that they're going to fail. And if that's how they think, no matter what you do, okay, especially if you don't know what to do, okay, if you don't know what to do to help them, they will continue to fail. And then you'll feel bad because you've failed. You have failed them because you didn't know what to do. Okay? Now, fear is one of the biggest things that prevent people from succeeding. Because if they believe that they will fail, they will. Now, why do sometimes people believe that? Well, one thing is, if you have an aphasia or an apraxia and you go to therapist A and they're not experienced enough to really know what to do to help you, guess what? You're not going to succeed. And most of the time, you're going to think it was you that failed. Or maybe the caregiver is going to think that you, the husband, or you, the wife, failed. And it wasn't that. Because you won't fail if you're working with a therapist who knows what they're doing and who's an expert. And that's why I make these videos today, because being able to talk is one of the greatest things in the world. It's one of the greatest pleasures in the world. I took my wife out tonight, and we went to this little place and sat at a table. And we just talked about a whole lot of things that we don't normally talk about to each other. And it was wonderful. And I've had so many caregivers who've said to me, gosh, this stroke, I hate this stroke. I hate it. It's interfered with our life. We can't do this. We can't do that. We can't do this. I can't even talk to him. He can't even talk to me. That's why this is so important. So fear can happen if you've been somewhere. Like, I had to take geometry twice. And I still didn't pass it the first time or the second time. That teacher was not the right teacher for me. That teacher did not understand the way that I learn. And the way that I learn is very different from the way he learns. And you teach, generally speaking, the techniques that most teachers use, even therapists use, are the techniques that they know to use for themselves. I hope you get that. So if you think that you're going to master something by doing this method or this technique, and maybe that person, it's too complicated for them, okay? That therapist is not going to know what to do because that therapist knows, well, this is the way to do it. Don't you understand? Just do it the way I tell you to do it, okay? That's how my geometry teacher was. Now, he was a good teacher. Don't get me wrong, he was a good teacher. But I was just one person in a class of 30 who sat in the back, hoping he wouldn't call on me, okay? And he didn't know how to teach me. And that's one of the problems with a lot of students today. They're smart, but you just have to find the way to teach them. Not everybody learns the same way, and especially if you have a brain injury. There's certain beliefs, there's certain attitudes, there's certain techniques that you must understand if you're going to work with a person with a brain injury. Now, who knows how to do that? Not many people know how to do that. But you learn how to do it. But I don't want you to take 10 or 15 years to learn how to do it like I did, like I had to. That's why I wrote the book, The Teaching of Talking. That's why I developed a video program, a self-study video program for people who wanted to learn the methods. That's why I offer a personal mentoring program where I will teach you step by step with your loved one what you must learn, what you must know, what you must believe, what your attitude must be, and the techniques of the teaching of talking. Now, there's a lot of other fears that happen along the way. Like, here's one. We've been to therapists. They weren't able to help him. So maybe he just can't be helped. But I want to let you know that there's no two therapists that are alike. There are no two people that are alike. There's no two approaches that are alike. Speech therapy is an art form. It's like an artist. An artist just knows what to do, knows how to pick the color, knows how to mix the color, and that only happens with experience. So caregivers have some fears. Oh, I don't want to go through that again. One one caregiver called me one time when I was in California and said, "Mark, will you speak to my husband, please? We're at the college clinic for his speech therapy, and we're getting that in addition to yours, and he didn't want to get out of the car." Will you speak to him? Would you tell him to get his butt into the speech clinic over there? And I said, no, I'm not going to do that. He's a big boy. If he doesn't want to go, don't make him go. If he wants to work with me, let's work. Yeah, but he had a stroke. He had a brain injury. Chances are he's not thinking right. And I said, well, that could be true, but then again, maybe it's not. Maybe he doesn't like going there. Maybe he doesn't like the therapist. Maybe he doesn't like the technique. Maybe he doesn't like the materials. Maybe he doesn't get enough success. Maybe he's fearful that if he makes a mistake, the therapist will ostracize him, will criticize him. I mean, I know all kinds of stories, both good and not so good, about experiences people have with doctors, with therapists, healthcare providers, with accountants, with lawyers. It's all the same. There's some that are really good, and there's some who are not. Your job is to find the best one. So there are lots of fears. And then there's the fear about, well, I paid so much money going to private therapy and it didn't work. And, I'd like to work with you and everything, but Jiminy Christmas, I've spent a lot of money on therapy and I don't want to lose more. That's fear talking. And then there's, of course, the person with aphasia Apraxia who doesn't want to get out of the car. Why? They fear ridicule. They fear failure. And that's why it's great to have a free initial consultation, so you get the feeling of who I am and what I know and how I can help you. I mean, when we talk with people, just not only therapists, when we talk with anybody, we get a vibe. My wife and I were talking about vibes tonight, and she didn't know what a vibe was. So I told her it's a feeling. When you walk into a room, there's a vibe. When you go to a city, there's a vibe. When you go in a restaurant, there's a vibe. When you meet somebody new, there's a vibe. Okay? And so what you want to do when you are seeking help, even if you've been to one therapist, two therapists, three or four more, it doesn't mean that you're not going to find the right person who's got the right mix. It's as simple as that. So fear is something that stops us. It stops the person with aphasia or apraxia from wanting to go to therapy again. Many don't want to because they haven't been successful. They feel like failures. But it's not them who we're concerned about. It's about the therapist knowing. Now, we're concerned about them, but we're also concerned about the fact that we want more therapists to really understand this very, very, very complex problem. You know, my next door neighbor had open heart surgery. She had quadruple bypass surgery. Okay? And you could imagine, they had to break her sternum. They had to take out her heart. They had to disconnect it. They had to do a whole bunch of stuff. Okay? And when she was telling me all about that, I was thinking, gosh, that sounds like aphasia and apraxia therapy. It's just as complex as that. But it can be taught to anyone. It can be taught to anyone. Anyone who has the desire, anyone who has the attitude, anyone who has the belief. And that's what I want to share with you today. Fear, it will stop you. Don't let it do that. Find the right person. Make sure there's the right vibe. Make sure that they share with you their beliefs and their attitudes. Make sure that they know techniques and methods. And if you do, chances are your loved one will start talking better and will succeed. And you'll learn what to do. Because the final thing I want to share with you is this. I believe from the very bottom of my heart that the people who succeed with speech therapy for aphasia or apraxia must have someone who can work with them when they're not going to the expert. They've got to practice. They've got to practice. All the greats, whether you're a violinist, a basketball player, a quarterback, whether you're a writer, whatever it is, to master whatever it is that you want to learn, you've got to do it regularly, almost every day. That should be every day. Should be throughout the day. And that's how people with aphasia get better, when they're stimulated to speak throughout the day, not a half an hour a week, not 45 minutes a week, not an hour a week, not speech therapy twice a week. That'll never do it. But what will do it is stimulation throughout the day. And the best place for the stimulation is at home, by someone who loves them, cares for them. This is Mark Ittleman, speech-language pathologist. I hope you've enjoyed this little diatribe. this little discussion, or this little sharing that we're having with you today. We hope that you've liked it. We hope you learn from it. We hope that you apply many of the things that I've reviewed with you about this, because I've been down that road. My wife just got this new t-shirt, and it says, "This ain't my first rodeo." And she didn't know what that really meant first. But now she knows. And it's not my first rodeo, okay? I've been on the circuit for a long time. And when you decide to learn the teaching of talking, or to get personally mentored by me, it will be your first rodeo, but you'll find throughout the weeks or months that you'll start feeling like a old hand at it. So this has been a pleasure for me to share with you. If you want to learn more about the teaching of talking, underneath this video are a bunch of links that will help you. If you want to learn about our books, there are links to the books. If you want to speak to me personally for a free consultation, there's a questionnaire to fill out for that. If you want to get on our mailing list, there's a link for that. There's just a whole bunch of stuff under there. Make sure that after you give us a thumbs up, hopefully, if you've liked this video, that you'll check out what's under it, and you'll check out what I've prepared for you underneath the video. After you finish watching it, you'll see all kinds of links, how to communicate with me, how to help your loved one talk. And you'll be very glad you did. So I wish for you today a wonderful day, what's left of it. I wish you a wonderful day tomorrow, next week, next month, next year. And I wish you a wonderful lifetime. It's been great sharing, and we'll see you on the next video. Thanks a lot. Bye-bye now.